All right, Ben, take it away.
All right. Well, hello, and thank you for tuning in to Virtual Coffee with Ben. My name is Ben Blackman. I'm the Director of Development for Ridge. That's Royal Innovation Design Group, which is a group of innovation consultants based in St. Petersburg, Florida. Before we get started, I want to encourage everybody out there to subscribe to the Ridge YouTube channel and our Facebook page. You can hit the like button, share all of our content. You can even schedule your own Coffee with Ben session where we can talk about how Ridge can help your company innovate more effectively. This web series, Coffee with Ben, focuses on how companies innovate, strategically plan for the future, and create a strong culture for their employees. Now, you might have noticed that my sidekick today looks a little bit different. No need to adjust your screens. We have a brand new member to the Ridge team, and her name is Regina Kaza. She is our new marketing coordinator. She's subbing in for Jordan Oppelt today and helping to run the show. But my guest this morning is Ken Evans. Ken is the managing director of the Accelerator program for the Tampa Bay Innovation Center, which helps to accelerate the entrepreneurial success of the community by building tech companies, building an innovation community, and teaming with innovation partners across the area. Thank you both for joining me today. Ken, it's great to have you. I always like to start out by getting a little bit of sense of our guest's professional journey. I know you've been in the Tampa area now for a couple of decades, and you've been involved in marketing and product development and senior management, all that good stuff. I'm curious how that collection of experiences led you to the role that you're at now as the manager of the Accelerator program at Tampa Bay Innovation Center.
Okay, well, thanks, Ben and Regina, for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be here and to catch up with you folks. My background is, a zigzag, like a lot of people in tech. I'm what they call in the product management world a purple squirrel, which is that mix between the technical aspects and the business aspects of your background. So I actually started out, not going to go back to school, but I started out my career as a systems analyst. And migrated to being a systems engineer. So, always a customer-facing, user-facing person with the responsibility of understanding what users wanted to get out of technology. At the end of the day, what's the outcome that they're looking for? And being a systems engineer, a lot of times I was in the tail end of a sale of emerging technology, new technology, that the salespeople would convince people that they needed, and I was the one that had to go in and make it work. And that's when I got exposed to the user side of, hey, this isn't what we expected, or we don't know what to expect. How are we supposed to use this in our job? So I migrated from being a systems engineer and working with a lot of the early emerging networking products way back when. I won't tell you what year. But there was there was a big disconnect between technology and the actual users that were supposed to benefit from it. So I migrated from that position into product management, into product marketing. Started working with vendors, started working with a lot of the emerging tech vendors at the time, as well as a lot of enterprise customers, and always kind of kept that as central to my career. I've been through a number of venture-backed startups, most of which are not around anymore because that's the nature of the beast. And I've worked for 2 Fortune 50 companies. And I've always tried to keep that as a basis for what I do. Why are we building what we're building? Is it actually going to provide a better outcome to the user at the end of the day? And then what are all the things that go along with that? How are you going to message that? How are you going to train the user? How are you going to support the user? How are you going to do all those things that create a sustainable product and a sustainable customer relationship? So I've been in product marketing and product management, in senior roles. I've been in marketing roles. I've basically done everything to roll up your sleeves, including temporary CTO and CIO type roles, because in a small company that's what happens sometimes. But all the way through that, I've kind of maintained that purple squirrel personality of, you need to understand the tech, but you also need to understand the people side of tech and how it impacts their lives and how they're actually going to get a benefit out of that tech. Because tech for the sake of tech is useless. It's, it makes for great PR buzz, but it really doesn't help anybody at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. So then how did you end up at Tampa Bay Innovation Center? What was that like to make that decision?
Well, that was a long route as well, because I met Tanya back in 2008, I think it was. And the Innovation Center had been around for 5 years at that point, over in the Largo area in the old Raytheon plant. And they were doing a mix of DoD government tech as well as commercial enterprise tech. And that's back when I was running TBTF, now TBT, Tampa Bay Technology, had an Emerging Companies Academy, which was very similar to what we're doing today, a workshop for wannabe founders and figuring out whether or not what their idea that they'd come up with was could mean as far as building a product, as far as doing something for users. So somewhat similar, but a little bit different approach. Last year, middle of last year, Tanya started talking to me about actually having a formal accelerator program that focuses specifically on the founder and what they need to know. So the four elements of our program are product, revenue, operations, and leadership. And she wanted to have a balanced program that would bring founders in, help them grow as leaders, but also help them create a sustainable company. And the bulk of creating a sustainable company is actually having a product that people want to use.
Gotcha. So the ideal entrepreneur or startup that comes to you is somebody that you think has a product already, or is there kind of a DNA that makes for somebody that has great alignment with what you're doing?
Well, the great alignment is, the kind of the catchphrase is scratch your own itch. So what you know is a problem. If you can validate that that's a problem for other people, then you probably have the basis for creating some type of a solution or product or service. So we do look for people with some industry experience, something that they have experienced in their professional life that they believe is a big enough problem for their peers or their industry that needs to be solved. If you look at something like CB Research, they estimate that almost half of the startup failures are due to people building products that nobody needs, nobody wants. There's no fit. And so that's the first thing that we address in the program. So even if a founder is coming into the program with something that they've already built or they've already at least sketched out, we make sure that there is actually a fit for that by making sure that they're going back, talking to users, doing the necessary research, changing how they research about the product, because that's one of the biggest points of failures that founders have, is they do research the wrong way. And we take them through that program. I'll admit that I'm biased. I want to make sure that they get that right before we worry about running off and doing press releases and hiring a sales team or doing any of those other type of Marcom or sales related activities. None of that makes sense until you actually have a product that fits.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about the four areas. You said it's product, revenue, operations, and leadership. Is there one of those four that you're particularly passionate about, or do you think that your skill set lends itself to?
Definitely back to product.
Product.
Being in product management, being in marketing most of my professional career, and starting out as a systems engineer, making sure that the product is something that's going to fit with what the users need to have done. So, we spend 80% of every workshop drilling down on that. What have you done to learn more about whether or not your product actually solves a problem, and rinse and repeat. And a lot of that is going out and talking to users and having users share the problems that they have day to day, not going out and pitching the product. That's the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to do research, is they go out with a concept of what their product is. They show it to someone and say, do you like this? Would you buy it? And that doesn't lend itself to truthful answers, because people generally are nice and they'll pat you on the head and say, well, that's wonderful. I really like that idea. Good for you. Good luck in your startup. But they really haven't connected with that on a business level to say, this solves a problem. Clayton Christensen, who wrote the book Innovator's Dilemma, used to say, people hire a product to do a job. And that's the way that I conduct the program, to make sure that people view their product as something that gets hired to perform a job. Just like you would hire a person to do a job, you hire a product to do a job. So that is kind of one of our core mantras. Would someone hire your product to do a job? Which means you got to think about all the onboarding that you have with an employee, the same way you would onboard a technology product. And the fact that you're paying that employee to do that job, you're paying that product to do a job. Does that make sense? Are you going to see a return on that investment? Because if the customer doesn't see a return on that, and they don't understand that this product is actually going to deliver something at the end of the day, then why would they buy it? Mm. And if they wouldn't buy it, do you really have a scalable business?
Yeah. So you mentioned the program, and that is the Accelerator program that you're running, which I believe is 12 weeks long, and it emphasizes early stage ideation and incubation fundamentals. Can you give our listeners and our viewers an idea of what that 12-week process really entails from start to finish? And are there areas that you see kind of the aha moments or the biggest impact throughout those 12 weeks?
Well, yeah, again, it goes back to having people understand how to do research questions with their early adopters, and also get out of the mantra of this appeals to a wide range of people in an industry or a job title. We focus very much on who are the early adopters, who are those rebels that are out there that are willing to upend their job, potentially go to their bosses and say, we need to spend money on this. You need to find people who are advocates for the problem to be solved. If you've got someone who's just kind of going along in their job and they're really not leaning into their job in a way that says, hey, you know what, I could do this better, but it's going to require a new product or a new technology or another technology partner, that's not an early adopter. That's not someone that's going to go to bat for you. So you have to find those people who are the overachievers, who are uneasy in their job, who are trying to exceed the expectations of doing that job every single day. If you've got someone there that's just a hamster on a wheel doing their job every single day, it's not that you don't want to discount that person as a customer someday, but they're not going to be a good early adopter. You've got to find those people that are kind of squirming in their seat saying, there's got to be a better way to do this. Those are your early adopters. And what that makes a founder do is it makes them get rid of a lot of the distractions and a lot of the noise. And a lot of people that they thought would be customers are not their early adopter customers. So teaching people to ignore people that are going to be distractions, teaching people to ignore technology and other things that are going to be distractions until they find that early adopter and figure out if there's a product market fit. That is really the biggest issue of taking a founder who's already enthusiastic about their product and having them dial it back a little bit and say, do you really have someone that's out there that is just absolutely dying to use your product? Or are you getting a lot of pats on the head, a lot of, that's nice, keep it up, which is useless when you're trying to actually find that product market fit.
And that happens early in the 12-week program, that you kind of take care of that in determining the ideal customer and the targets. What happens kind of towards the backstage of the program?
Well, it's ongoing. It never stops. And that level of research never stops. Even once your product is shipped and you're collecting revenue, that level of research never stops. And it's for the founders. It's not something you can necessarily, especially early on, you can't delegate that to someone. You can't say, well, I'm going to hire a marketing person, a salesperson, a product manager, and they're going to go do it for me. Because as a founder, if you don't have that connection with the user and what needs to be done, you don't really have a sustainable business. You can't hire to go do that early on. You really have to know it, feel it, live it. So that continues throughout the entire 12 weeks of the program. We layer other things on top of that. Once people are comfortable that they are talking to early adopters and that there is an industry they need to go after for this, then we can start layering in, okay, how are you going to market to those people? What's the messaging you're going to use? How are you going to be very, very focused on constantly engaging with those people to figure out if their interest is moving towards something that would mean they would actually use it in their business. Would they actually pay for it? How much would they pay for it? Where do they buy products today? How do they buy products today? All these different layers of information are things that you negotiate with a customer to get. They don't know they're telling you that. You're just having a conversation with them. But if you start talking about other products that they use, they start to disclose information about what they pay, what products they've used before, what products were disasters, which products were good for them in the past, who are their trusted technology providers, where do they buy their stuff? Do they go to Newegg? Do they go to CDW? Do they buy it directly from vendors? All that comes out in conversations when you build trust with those customers and just have a conversation about solving problems. If you're there just trying to sell them a widget, the walls go up and they don't share that information. So you need to know all these go-to-market intricacies, all these secrets of where customers buy stuff. I always joke about, you can't go to an enterprise customer, bait them with the fact that there's a product that they need and then say, oh, by the way, we only accept Bitcoin. It's their terms. It's how they buy their product and where they buy their product. And all of that comes out when you're having genuine conversations during research and not just guessing how you should go to market with that stuff. And that's why the user research never stops.
That's great. And it's always interesting when you get those those gold nuggets from your research that you can apply. And it sounds like that really is an integral part of the process that you're putting together. If you're just joining us, you're watching Virtual Coffee with Ben. I'm Ben Blackman, Director of Development for Ridge. I'm joined today by Ken Evans. Ken is the Managing Director of the Accelerator program for Tampa Bay Innovation Center. I'm also joined by Regina Kaza, our new marketing coordinator, who's helping to run the show. If you like what you're hearing, you want more of it, you can go to the Ridge YouTube channel and hit subscribe. You can also go to our Facebook page for more conversations just like this one. Well, Ken, we have to talk about the pandemic. It's one of the questions I've been asking everybody all year. Unfortunately, it's still with us. I'm curious how things have changed throughout the local innovation community here in the Tampa Bay area, and then specifically at the Tampa Bay Innovation Center as a result of the pandemic. How have things changed for you guys? Do you foresee those changes lasting into 2021? How have you adapted?
Well, I mean, there's a couple different ways to approach this. Since we were on the topic of user research, it actually has improved the things for founders, the situation for founders, because you're no longer asking people to meet you at Central Perk for a cup of coffee, where they had to think about what they're doing, work it into their schedule. They don't really know you. There's all sorts of things. Now everyone lives on Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Not that they need more Zooms and more Microsoft Team meetings in their life, because I know I'm saturated with that, but they're more willing to do that, have a 15-minute call. And if you connect with them, again, not try to sell them something, not try to show them a widget, if you connect with them around their problems, just doing that research, a lot of the founders in the program are finding people are more approachable. They're a little bit bored with their day jobs, and they're willing to talk to someone about what their problems are and what needs to be solved. So from that perspective, it actually has worked out in favor of the founders. They've been able to do their research more effectively. They've been able to reach out to people and get responses. So that's actually been an upside of having this kind of remote work or work from home scenario. From an economic perspective, anytime we see a downturn in the economy, and unfortunately, massive furloughs or layoffs, you do find people that, maybe in the back of their mind, they were saying, someday I'll quit my day job and do this. Well, that someday sometimes gets forced on them, and it starts that. So we saw that in 2000 with the internet bust. We saw that in 2008. We see that over and over again. There are a lot of people that go, maybe this is the time that I need to start that company. So we did see a fair number of people apply for the summer accelerator, and the quality just got better of good ideas, people that really had things that were going to connect with the B2B environment. So since we're still in that environment, I expect to have a good batch of applications coming in for the next cohort of people that were saying, that 40 years in a gold watch type job isn't there anymore. If I'm going to make this idea ever happen, maybe now is the time. And that's what we always want to be there for that individual or that founding team to say, we've got you. We'll help you with that idea. We'll help you with all the things that you need to get to market. You just need to come with the attitude that you're going to work on this and build it into a company. So that's actually worked out. We went entirely virtual for this last cohort. And I will say, as the person that had to lead the workshop every day, and I would say probably speaking for most of the founders that were in there, it was better doing it online than it was in person. People didn't have to commute down to downtown St. Pete or any other place we were doing it. They could basically wake up, hop on the Zoom meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were on all day. We did take breaks, and we had a lunch break in the middle, but I think we got more done by doing it on Zoom. And I think everyone that participated felt a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more open to questions, a little bit more at ease to work with co-founders that were on the call and their peers that were on the call. So I hate to say it, but actually was better than being face-to-face with the classroom. I miss having lunches with the people where you could have those informal conversations. I miss going out for happy hours afterwards, so we can just kind of mix and mingle and wind down at the end of the day. So those elements are missing from the program, and we need to get those back, because those peer-to-peer level connections are important with other founders that are going through that same journey that you are. But as far as the content of the class, I would do it online forever if I could, because I think it worked well for everybody that was involved.
Well, that's great to hear that you guys have adapted so successfully. You mentioned the application process. I'm curious, what is the volume typically of the applications that you get, and what is that process? How many companies or startups do you end up taking on? And then I guess what advice do you have for those that maybe don't get accepted, that still have, an entrepreneurial spirit or a good idea, but, if they don't get accepted into the program, what advice do you have to them to maybe improve to the point where they would be accepted on a round in the future?
I'm always happy to give feedback on that. And some people ask and some people don't, and that's a mistake. You want to ask, why wasn't I accepted into the program? Is there something I should be working on? Was there something about the idea? So you should definitely always ask those type of follow-up questions if you're in it for the long haul. So the application process, we go through a platform called GUST, GUST.com. And those applications will be open probably in about 3 weeks. And then we'll close applications before the holidays in December, do some interviews online, of course, and then start the program in early January. We haven't picked an exact date, but I want to stay away from New Year's and probably start the week after that. Let people just kind of wind down, get kids back in school, do all those different things, and then we'll start the program up. The last batch, I think we only had about 50 or 60 applicants for cohort number 2. And from that, we picked 7 applicants, and 7 to 8 companies is about the right size. Normally, we're looking for companies with co-founders. So if you're going to have 2 people on the call gets pretty big if you go much beyond that. One company, we actually had 4 founders that were on the call every single day or every single week. One was calling in from Eastern Europe. One was calling in from, I think, Indonesia or someplace like that. And then we had 2 founders that were stateside. And the ability to have all founders on the call, just listening to the conversation and what we were going through and tracking the course material, the feedback from them was it really helped them in their weekly meetings and talking about developing their product because everyone was on the same page. So again, doing it virtual there gave us the ability to connect more with their team members and help influence kind of what their day-to-day workload looked like.
Great. So before we go, I'd love for all the people that are watching that want more information about Tampa Bay Innovation Center, or maybe information on how to apply, where can they go to learn more about the work that you and your peers are doing?
Certainly. Well, they can follow us on social media at Tampa Bay Innovation Center on LinkedIn, and it's TB Innovates on Twitter. I think it's also the same on Instagram, although I don't do anything on Instagram for the company. Or you can contact me directly. So you feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in the program via email. My email is evansk@tbinnovates.com, or you can just go to the website tbinnovates.com, and we'll have a posting there for the next cohort in a week or so. There will also be the ability, I think we'll have a video from the showcase so you can kind of see what program looks like at the very, very end. When we do a panel discussion and people get a chance to present what they did in the program and talk about their company to the community. So we'll have all those resources out there shortly. I was actually just editing video last night, so give me another couple days before that becomes available. But we want to be completely transparent with the process and the work that we do in the program, because we want people even outside the program to understand what that's about. I also do a meetup on the last Thursday of every month, where I test a lot of the material that I use in the Accelerator. So any B2B company, any technology company that's selling to businesses is welcome to join and get a little bit of a snippet of what we go through in the program by attending those meetups. And that way they can kind of decide if the program is right for them.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I would encourage anybody who's interested to go to tbinnovates.com. That was Ken Evans, the Managing Director of the Accelerator program at Tampa Bay Innovation Center. Again, I'm Ben Blackman with Ridge. If you're interested in learning more about what we're doing, you can go to www.ridge.com. That's RIDG.com. And you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook page for more conversations just like this one. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.